too. And I am very excited to be doing this. We will be doing these meetings on an ongoing basis on the third Thursday of every month at this time on this platform. So please schedule this in Outlook. The idea behind this is to kind of help with the communication. You know, if we're having issues within 4-H Online, so we have a pipeline to add to the other pieces that we have in place. A couple things before we get started for those that just joined us. If you hover your mouse at the bottom of your screen where you can see everybody, on the lower left-hand corner, you have the ability to mute your microphone. A lot of you have done that. If you're starting to get feedback, I would ask that you do mute your microphone. That way, it just keeps the cleaner pipeline for the audio. Also, open up your chat box, if you will. If you have questions as we're going through topics or discussion pieces, that way we can just type in a question mark that you're having a question, or type your question into the chat box, and then we can help facilitate that. I'm going to do my best to stay on track and keep our meeting to an hour. But I wanted to give you guys a little taste as to some things that I've done to our website. Okay. So I'm hoping, I don't know if we can, okay. Okay, so on our website, which we have our staff help sheet page, I have created a website or web page for Cafe 42. This web page is going to build as we have more meetings. The menu, that will kind of list or provide an overview of the topics that we've discussed on each session, if you will. And then if there are system issues that we present to James, then we'll have a status in there for tracking that. And then I'm also going to be recording these meetings. So there will be an ongoing log, if you will, as far as keeping track of our sessions, but it's also a way, if you miss a session or whatever with your schedule, it gives you ability to keep connected and in that pipeline. So this is very informal, and maybe as we go forward, kind of if we have a more formalized agenda, we'll go that route. But are there any questions thus far before we get into going into system issues or system questions? All right. I'll open the floor. The idea behind this is to, if there are questions or to, help on show me how to do things, this is what I'm here for. And, whatever question you have. Yes, so your questions. Okay. So first question, do you mean questions for things they're having issues with? Yes. So any questions you have pertaining to 4-H Online, whether it's a system issue or a how-to issue, or just basic troubleshooting things. So if you have those questions to answer Carrie and Marie and Julia and Kelly's question, so if you have questions, go ahead and type those into the chat box, and then we'll just kind of go through those one by one. If we're seeing some commonality on that, if the time allows where it can do a screen share and walk you through that process, we'll do that. But we'll go ahead and start. So Tracy's questions, they're having a problem with protecting minors training.
Just 1 second, Eric. Sorry, can everybody mic their mics, because there's some feedback that's hard to hear. And then when we'll ask the question, and then we'll open up your mic and you can talk.
Okay. So to find where to mute your microphone, if you hover your mouse over the bottom of the screen, in the lower left-hand corner, you should see a microphone, and you should be able to click on that to mute your mic. And if you're wanting to speak, then you just simply unclick the mute. And if you have not opened up the chat box, the chat box is on that same line. It's a little bit further to the right-hand side. All right. So Tracy, if you want to unmute your microphone and kind of explain the issue that you're having with the Protecting Minors training, that would be great.
We had a, excuse me, we had a gal come in last night to register on the computer, and when she went to go to the Protecting Minors training, it would not begin. It was just a blank page. I tried it again this morning. It's still just a blank page.
And what browser are you using?
I think it's Explorer.
I would try Firefox.
Firefox?
Yes. If that doesn't work, let me know. That does bring up a good point. There are some, oh, that's a good question, Teresa. Are they enrolled?
Yes.
As far as and they're active in the system?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I would definitely try the browser. When you're doing troubleshooting of questions in 4-H Online, one of my first questions that I've gotten to ask, or that I commonly ask, is the browser. A lot of people utilize Internet Explorer. That's their stock web browser. But that does make an impact, particularly on reports, and perhaps maybe that's an issue that we're having with some time. There may be a different issue with the Protecting Minors training video, but that's a good place to start as far as you know, seeing if you can get something to work. But keep me posted, Tracy, on that. If that does work, and if it does not, then there may be a bigger issue that we need to present to James. Okay, so the second question I see from Carrie, Marie, Julie, and Kelly. You have an event check due for KYG. The member did not attend. If you guys could let me know who that member is, I can remove that and get that cleared out of the system. Unfortunately, with those checks, with it being a state event and having the state level piece to that, I do have to clear that out. But if you can let me know who that is and what county, that would be great. Okay, so is there, Krista's question, if you want to unmute your microphone and kind of explain your question that you posted, that would be great. Are you still there, Krista? Can you unmute your phone or your microphone? Okay. Her question was if there's a way to add a civil rights PowerPoint in the same spot as the Protecting Minors training so we can require the leaders to watch it and receive a certificate of completion. With it being a county-specific training, I will have to do some little bit of research on my end to see if that's possible, but I would also need to get a copy of that training so I can put it in the appropriate format which is a SCORM compliant. We have a little bit of work to do on that end, but there may be a possibility on that. So if you could email me the details and the information that you're wanting on that, I will see if that is an option. And if I didn't completely answer your question on that one, please add that into the chat box. Oh, let's see here. Candy, if you want to unmute your microphone.
I'm trying.
Okay. Oh, you're good. You're on there. I hear you.
Right there. And then go right to there.
So your question is to see if there's a club, to make a club available in 2 counties. You have a club that has members from 2 different counties, but the members will show up. If you could explain that a little bit better for me, that would be great. Maybe. So you have, are the members from 2 different counties in the same club, but if I understand correctly, then they're not having that as an option to enroll. It may have, we can't add the other club from X county into the other county, but the members need to make sure that they have designated their primary and their secondary 4-H counties. Then the clubs that are available in those counties should appear in their list. If their clubs are not showing, there may be a setting in either or county as far as the month and date selection for projects. Sometimes the clubs or project availability is impacted by those dates being designated on that. So if you could send me an email with the children's names and the respective counties that we need to make sure that they're dual enrolled in, I can help you with that. And if I didn't answer your question, please add that into the chat box since you don't have a mic. Okay, so Carrie, should we archive inactive clubs or members? And also, how do we access archived info? If you could unmute and explain your question, that would be great.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a lot of kids that haven't been enrolled and adults for years, also clubs that haven't had members. They're still in the system. So should we archive them or just leave them there?
Whatever your preference is, archive. They will still be in the system, but archiving is a very appropriate use for that. That helps clean things up.
Okay, so how do we get access to them if we archive them?
Depending on what you're wanting to pull, you need to make sure in your filters, you'll probably end up having to make some custom reports. You have the option to filter your information down, whether they're active, pending. There's also a spot there for archived. Another way to do that too is if you're looking at a total of gleaning information of your archived population within a particular enrollment year, you can kind of filter it that way too. So depending on what the information is that you're trying to pull, just let me know and we can troubleshoot that with creating custom reports. But you'll probably have to go that route since it does give you a way to flag specifically for archived information. It may or may not pull on the standard reports depending on what 4-H you select, because I don't know. I think they're just strictly set for active status, if that makes sense.
Okay, if we archive the clubs, will the members that used to be in that club not be in our search anymore?
If you archive a club, it takes it out of active status. So you have to make sure that, I don't think the system will allow you to deactivate a club if there are active members in it. So you need
no.
So if you're set to go on that, then you can move that club from active status to inactive, and then it should not impact any of your, if they've, or run that question by me again. I lost my
So if we have, it's okay, it's kind of a weird question. So if we have a club that no longer is active and we inactivate them in 4-H Online, but we have the old member profiles still show up in our search list, and those kids are no longer active, but will they still show up in the list if we just inactivate the clubs?
Yes, yes. That won't impact your members from showing up in the list. It does take, when members are going to register for clubs, by removing that club out of an active status, it does take that, if they're registering online, that type of thing, it takes that club out of that pipeline. So it's not an option for them. It should not impact where your members show up in the listing in the system, whether active or, in this case, archived. So they should be fine.
Oh, thank you.
So then just let me know what information you're wanting to pull on those archived members when you get to that point. And then I think the best way to get around that would be to do a custom report. So
Okay.
go on that.
Thank you.
Okay, Sarah, can the old event information posted in announcements and newsletters be deleted? Yes. So depending on what level, if there's older information, we can go through the newsletters piece and I can do some cleanup on that. Okay, and how does it, okay, the items review box down, yes. So depending on the newsletters that are posted at the state level as well as your newsletters, that does move that screen further to the bottom. So I will go through, and for older event information that is there, I can definitely clean that up. So thank you, Sarah, for that. For the member on the event check, for Kelly, just send me an email on that, please, and then that way I have a paper trail on that. Okay, so Candy, if they select dual county, will they show up in their respective county or will they show up in the county the club is in? They will show up in both. That said, their ability to show up on reports does depend on how the reports are set up. You may run into some issues with having all of the members' projects show up in different areas. So there is a cheat sheet on the staff help sheet page, specifically on dual county enrollments and pulling those reports. So where that ties into is the filters. I have found that there's some different things you have to do with the filters and the setup of your reports to make sure that you don't have, if you're pulling, let's say, a market beef project and the member is in multiple projects, within that dual county member, they're going to show up in a variety of different places. So there are some special project filters we can use to help whittle that down to where you're getting a cleaner report, not only where your beef project is concerned, but for your other projects as well. So that does get addressed with that tip sheet. So if that doesn't answer your question, Candy, go ahead and type that in the chat box. Tina, the counties are the ones who have to add the secondary family. The families don't have that access. Oh, so their families are not getting an option to add the dual county? Okay, that might be something I can ask James. It's not a whole lot, but I know like for Canyon and Ada County, you guys have a lot of dual participants. So, and that can be said for everywhere. So, that's true. Okay. If you have a member that is a dual county, then you just need to add whatever the primary county is where they pay their enrollments, where they're living, that would be considered their primary county. Then you just add there's a secondary county that should be on their first main page of that enrollment profile. and that information should show up for them. So that would be something we manage on our end. So I won't forward that to James. But speaking of dual counties, your dual county participants should now start seeing newsletters. I had James test that. So if you have dual county participants, your families that are enrolled in both counties should start seeing newsletters from both counties in their newsfeed. Not that they're going to read that, but it should be working. So if you are dual enrolled by chance, or if you have a way of testing that out with your families that you know are super active, involved, if you could check for me to see if that is working and to verify that that is working, that is great. So I hope that helps with the information pipeline for your dual enrolled folks. Let's see. Okay. Carrie, Marie, Julie, and Kelly, why can't we delete duplicate members ourselves? That is a setting that is currently at state level. I don't know why, or why James has got that set up that way. There is definitely a process to that. So if you have duplicate members, what is very helpful for me is to have member names. That includes first name, last name. If you have a family name that if it's a different last name than the children, that is good to know. And just give me the list and I can work through that on the cleanup on that. To follow up on the dual county, how do we get reports to show only projects they are taking in our county? Yes, that information, to whittle that down to where you can filter out their dual county in the custom reports. I don't know if it's specifically covered in that help sheet. If not, Sarah, I can certainly help you with creating that report to get that pared down. Let's see. Okay, so to follow up on the duplicates, yes. If you send me your list of duplicates, I will clean that up and I will remove them. That said, in that process, with the way our 4-H enrollments are set up, we have, 4-H members, their records will show that they've been enrolled in 4-H from 2012 to 2013, 2013 to 2014, 2014 to 2015. Depending on when their original record was created to when the duplicate record is created, sometimes there is what is considered an overlap. So that 13, 14, 14, 15 is really creating some havoc in my ability to clean those up. Once those members progress into another year, so once we roll over to 15, 16, for those members that have got a duplicate record that's touching on that 13, 14, 14, 15, I can get those cleaned up. I've got a track, a log, so I'll be doing a lot of house cleaning here in October. But yes, just send me the list and I can clean that up for sure. Teresa, when you were at the 4-H online training a few weeks back, were you able to address the Protecting Minors training? The leaders cannot leave that page and submit until it is done, as well as the registrations. I need to clean up that email or that electronic file. We're working through that. I'm hoping to have that done by the end of this week with the back and forth with James and Dave. So to answer your question, at this point, no, Teresa, I have not. And then what did you mean on the registrations piece?
What I meant was, they can go ahead and do the registration, they can submit it to the county office, but then still they have to go back in and then do their Protecting Minors training. So if they could just do that all in one whack And then it prevents them from submitting their registration until they do the protecting minors training. that make
Oh, so they'd have to have that completed before the registration is.
Right, because what they're doing is they go out, they think they're done, and then you go, nope, you got another thing to do, and I go, what you have to do though is you got to go out and go back into your profile, and then you do the protecting minors.
So that would be making, I'll have to ask James, is that something that you guys would want? Because that might be a system-wide all or nothing setting and not like a county by county. I can check to see what the options are for that. What is the response to that? So to clarify, what Teresa's saying is that training would become a part of the registration process. So in order for that registration to be submitted, the training would have to be completed first, then the registration, or their enrollment record could be submitted at that point. Did I explain that right, Teresa?
Right, yeah, because I know that was the headache on getting everybody enrolled by December 31st. That was one of the issues. You know, they thought they were done, came in, paid their dues, and were still telling them, no, you still had one more thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they were getting confused because they said, no, I submitted my enrollment. So anyway, that was an issue that would have simplified a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. I from what I'm seeing in the chat box, I think, yes, I do think it would save some backtracking. You would still have that piece on the background screen. That's a separate system thing, which you can handle, but I think, it would be, all right. Okay, Krista, I think that would be great. Would it cause an issue for the families that don't have leaders? So as far as on the whole club piece, if they have a record within 4-H Online and they're an adult, they should be in the system as a leader. So technically, they all should be volunteering. They should all be checking that box. I have found that on a couple of things, if they don't check that box, when it comes to like setting up for your organizational leader or project leader logins, if you're allowing them to, pull those reports, they have to have that little box checked. Otherwise, they can't get the login. So technically, everybody should be green status. As far as impacting the families by having that process, it's going to be an impact when it comes go time for the 4-H year and their organizational club leader or their project leader hasn't gotten their stuff together. That may create a little headache for you guys in terms of, okay, so we have somebody that has not fulfilled the process pieces for getting re-enrolled. You may have to improvise on who's going to be leading those clubs until that leader commits or finishes that homework piece. Resource volunteers, if they're not certified, it's a good question, Nancy. If they're the resource leaders are just providing information. They're not having one-on-one contact with the kids or in that type of a scenario, correct? Okay. Then, that might be a little problematic. Although I thought all of the volunteers were required to do the protecting minors training, whether they were a resource or not. Is that something I could clarify that and check with Nancy to make sure? Let me put that. Because I think I think they fall under that. Although they're a resource leader, I think they're still required to do the background screen, and I think they're still required to do the protecting minors training, but I will get clarification on that. So we'll see. But it sounds like if there is a way to make that a part of the registration process, enrollment process, looks like to be support for that. So I will see what our options are, and hopefully I can have information to share with you guys as a follow-up on that, and see what our options are before we make anything set in stone. Okay, I gotta scroll back up and see where next line of question is here. Okay, Tina, is there a way to add secondary county under families versus the member profiles? I have asked James. Unfortunately, no, we cannot do that. And I don't know, he didn't really get into the explanation, but as a compromise for getting the information to the families, we were able to get the dual county designation for their newsletters to at least show up to help with the information streaming. But no, at this point, no, there is not a way to add a secondary county under the family profile. Those are tied to the member profiles at this point. So if you're having issues with emails or those different correspondences, there are definitely filters to help pull those secondary families or your dual county folks into those custom reports to help make sure or ensure that they're getting information that you're sending out if you're doing broadcast emails and that type of thing. And for pulling, whether it's project reports and that type of thing. So as much as I wish there would be a system fix for that, I don't have that, Tina. Okay. So when we were discussing the protecting minors training, is having that as part of the registration, that requirement is for our adults, so that would not be impacting the youth profiles. So youth should be able to register just fine and not have an issue for where it pertains to preventing them to complete the enrollment process. Okay, so Lisa, you were told that if they're a resource leader, they did not have to have a background check. Policies and procedures, resource leaders are listed as certification optional. Okay, that's good to know. So I'm gonna have to get a little creative on that, and maybe there's something in the system where if we can make that a possibility, where if they have either a project leader role or an organizational leader role, whether they're a volunteer or not, technically they should be checking the volunteer box. I wish they would just get rid of that, but there may be a way to link that. So I'll do a little follow up with James to see what our options are with that. All right. Any further questions or having issues on reports or those types of things? Let's see here, I'm trying to think. I'm gonna do a little screen share here. I have done some changes to the layout of our staff help sheets page. If you have not bookmarked this web page to your browser, Oh, I did not see your last question there, Carrie, and everybody, so let me see. I saw the duplicate question, so if you send a list of duplicates, I will remove them.
Erica, it was regarding attachments.
Okay, all right. Is there a way to add an attachment? Yes. To add an attachment to a newsletter or to a broadcast email, that information needs to be converted into a PDF and posted into 4-H Online as a newsletter. And James has been doing some extensive testing on the newsletter link because for a while there we were having some issues with that working. I have been assured that it is fully functional. So the first part is creating your custom report. The second part would be creating your newsletter. You can post that internally without actually having it appear within 4-H, to your broader audience. So it would just be listed in your newsletters. You don't have to share it, so that prevents it from posting on the newsletter feed. And then you would build your broadcast email. When you get to the dialog box where you're actually entering in, the details, if you will, on your email, you should have a profile or family information tab, and then you should also have a newsletter tab. And so then there should be an ability to add in basically your merge, what is the word? Your little merge field for the newsletter. You would just select what newsletter you want that to be. So your newsletter would be your information. And then finish your email and it should send out. And if that does not work, let me know. But so yes. Multiple attachments. So there would be multiple newsletters. I don't know if there is a cap to the amount of data that can be in those newsletters as far as the file size, but in theory, when you have a newsletter, that would create its own special merge field. So in theory, you could do multiple attachments, or if you have everything set up in one newsletter, you could have different fields and just combine it into one if it's not too big. Okay, so if regardless of what the information or the content you're trying to attach to the email, you have to create a newsletter. So your newsletter may not be a newsletter. It may be a flyer about a weigh-in. It may be a reminder about teen conference, but in order to add an attachment into the email, you have to create it as a newsletter, and I hope that helps to clarify that. Okay, so I'm going to do a screen share here on staff help sheets. And so if you have not gone to the staff help sheet page in a while, I have done some work to hopefully reorganize that. If you are having issues or have questions on 4-H Online, please, please, please send me a Zendesk ticket. I get upwards of 200 emails a day, and it's very hard to keep track of if there are issues on 4-H Online, or if you're having system issues. It's just easier. Having things coming through Zendesk gives me a way of tracking that. Adam and Shanna can see those tickets, and they can be included in that pipeline. We do have a help sheet there, so what's the process? There is a little web center, if you will, for frequently asked questions. But the main pipeline of information and tip sheets and where I want you guys to come to is to here. And also, this is a nice little handy hot link to Cafe 42. within this page as well. If you're having new staff come on board or temporary help, if you need logins, let me know. But we do have webinars and recorded trainings that go over different things. I do have a specific webinar I did last year on reports, and also kind of touching in on some of those duplicate county pieces. So that I'm actually on these webinars, I actually go through screen by screen. So if you have a little bit of time and check those out, that will help, along with those tip sheets on helping to troubleshoot and go through custom reports. It's a good one. Not as long as like these first couple of webinars that I did. This first webinar is very, very intense. It's about 3 hours, but if you have a new staff person that's going to be doing a lot on 4-H Online, it is very detailed, and it goes nose to toes over everything that we can cover in enrollment. So that is there. A couple quick links. If you're the family and volunteer help sheet page, this will actually give you a look at the information they see, or how the steps that they see for doing different processes, whether it's doing the Protecting Minors training, or pulling information or enrolling, some of those things. And then we get into our tip sheets. I have them broken down by general categories, you know, be it enrollment or data management, project and club leader login, risk management information, reports, animals, how to do your broadcast emails, and then reporting. So definitely bookmark that page. And a big thing with this, that particular website, and even Cafe 42, these are works in progress. So the information that's on there, I try my best, you know, to put information out there as we're getting issues, you know, as a support piece for you guys. But if there are tip sheets that I need to put out on there, or other pieces of information that are missing, by all means, please let me know what is missing, or if there is a piece that would be helpful to where I can keep that information stream up to date for you guys. So are there any further questions? So the information that comes out of these chats, we have covered several different things today. So I'm going to go through kind of my notes, hopefully with having this meeting recorded, we can kind of present information. I definitely have some follow-up pieces, but James is actually going to start a forum with the states. And so he is opening a forum to where each state can bring a topic forward. And then, you know, whether it's a system issue or support issue or whatever the case may be, we're kind of having that same piece offered to us. So hopefully that pipeline will help with keeping things moving forward. It has definitely been a huge growth period for 4-H Online. In this last year, they have gone from 13 states using the system to 44 out of the 50 states using 4-H Online. So what that means is that has impacted the timeliness in which system issues are being fixed. It does impact the overall customer service picture, if you will, for the states. So there is definitely a time element to that. Okay, so Gail, I'm trying to attach a newsletter. I've done it before, but I can't seem to get the steps down. Yeah, if you want to share your screen, we have a little bit of time. We did talk about newsletters a lot, so yeah, Gail, if you want to share your screen, I can kind of walk through what you're going through there. Okay, so on the left-hand side, oh, it stopped. There we go. You're not going to be able to see everybody, Gail, but hopefully you can hear me. So on the left-hand side, there will be your merge fields. It's right underneath Edit Email. Click on that, and then click on Newsletter, and then, yep, double click on that, and then it embeds it right in there. And then from there, if you're to the part where you can, if you've already identified who your recipients are, then you would go ahead and select your custom report. And that's right under the member email. So under your recipients, select your reports. And when you get to this point, they have to be custom reports, but if you have multiple reports, you can check multiple boxes. So it looks like, Gail, you've got your families and volunteers. And then if that's the only, that would be probably, I'm assuming, everybody for the county. Then if you click, there you go, you've got your email. So it says you have 166 members. What the system does is it looks for duplicate email addresses. So you have 102 unique email addresses that this will be sent to. And then you should be, if you don't have anything else to add into that, if you click continue, it'll ask you to send now, and then you're set.
Okay, so I did that, and then I did had it send it just to me to make sure it went through, and it came through exactly like this, and that newsletter policies and procedures link was not active. And when I sent it out last time to my members, they said the same thing. We could see where it said it, but it's not linked.
Oh,
They couldn't click on it.
okay. All right. I will call Celeste after this meeting, and then I will post an update on both the staff help sheets page and Cafe 42 on where we're at with that.
Okay, thank you.
I was reassured that that has been fixed.
Well, I mean, let me try resending it again tonight or this afternoon and see if it does go through to them. But this is exactly what it looked like last time, and I had the same problem last time. So I just wanted to see before I send it out to them again with an inactive link again.
Yeah, maybe hold off on that.
Okay.
And let me get a hold of James and or Celeste and see what we can do to get that fixed.
Great. Thank you.
No problem. Are there any other questions or things to discuss? Our next session will be on April 6th. Oh, that's today. May 21st, same time, same place. And the link that we used to connect for today's meeting will be the same. So that won't change. As an outcome of this or an output of this, go definitely check that Cafe 42 page. I'll be listing out the topics that we've discussed. There will be, statuses as to whether, if issues have been resolved or what the outcomes on that. That way we have that running pipeline, and then we can kind of keep moving forward with things as we go through the months with our cafe talks. Cayenne, do you see in the future 4-H Online being able to make class sheets for the fair for each project so we can just print it out and use it? I don't see that happening within 4-H Online itself. 4-H Online has done an extensive overhaul to their fair program. So they have fair entry, and if you're interested in fair support, we're all over the board as far as what the counties are using for their fair systems, be it ShowWorks or exporting information from 4-H Online into Excel, and this would be another option. If there's interest, I know we've had some counties asking about fair pieces, but I could talk to Becky and or James, and maybe they could join us on a cafe session and we could do a run through, or they could do a meeting where we can go through the new fair piece if you guys are interested on that. With the changes that have happened to fair entry, there is a much more easier share and import of information as far as what's going to build your show or build your fair. It's very helpful or handy as far as the setup on that, and they have all those class sheets already made, so that would definitely be probably a better fit for you, Cayenne, and what you're trying to do, but there is a cost with that. So I hope I answered your question on that one. You know, as far as a fair sheet, and when I'm thinking about what I used to do for building fair when we were using 4-H Plus, I had my core sheets made in Excel. Those didn't change, so then that way, you know, that might be a workaround for you where you kind of build your template and what information you're needing, and then you could just export the data, you know, be it if you're doing you know, building a class for quality or fitting and showing, your data won't change for your beef kids, but you can export that in Excel and you can kind of build the meat and potatoes, and then that way you're not having to reinvent the wheel in terms of building your core show sheets every year. And I may still have those somewhere in my files. If you want me to email that to you, Cayenne, I'd be happy to send that to you. Or anybody else? Okay. So we got about 7 more minutes. If there's anything else for the greater good, that would be great. Or if not, we're good to go. I'm so thrilled that everybody took time out of their day to be here today. I really appreciate that. I think this is great, and I hope that this is a benefit to you guys. And as you visit with your colleagues, please tell them, you know, that this is here and this is for them. And every little bit helps as far as information. So, you know, I really appreciate you guys' questions, and thank you so much. Hope you all have a great day. Thank you, everybody. Oh my God, what's she going on? Well, what do you mean? All right, so I'm going to stop recording.